Okay, let me preface this video by saying I don't have anything against God of War. This is not a God of War hit piece. It wouldn't be very nice for me to attack a game that I appear in.
But you are correct. I am indeed Ratatosker.
What I want to talk about is the puzzles in God of War and the controversy surrounding them. So for anyone not aware, in God of War Ragnarok they have a lot of these environmental puzzles. They're simple, they're not particularly complicated. There's really nothing noteworthy about them, but a lot of people are talking about them. And the reason for that is because if you don't solve these puzzles quickly enough, the NPC companion with you will start talking to you and giving you hints and pretty much just spoiling the whole puzzle. That isn't new in video games. Like, a lot of video games do that, they have done that, they've done that forever. But God of War, it's kind of funny. It'll start doing it immediately. The moment that you get to a puzzle, before you really get a chance to do much of anything, just immediately start chattering away. Now personally, I've always hated this system. I've always hated this solution to solving puzzles. And I'll tell you why. It's because when you're playing a game and you're sitting there trying to solve a puzzle, and you get stuck on something and then you're just trying to interact with it, navigate it, weigh all the different elements, and this isn't restricted to God of War, this is any game that does this. In these games, if the game gives you an unsolicited hint, I'm going to be really angry. I'm going to be very upset. And the reason for that is because the game is calling you stupid. It feels like the game is telling you that you're stupid. In fact, it doesn't just feel that way, it is indirectly calling you stupid. Because you as a player, you know that this is a video game. And the developers had to make a decision about how much time the player typically needs before they give them a hint. So usually, they'll let you interact with the puzzle a little bit, and then after a certain amount of time, they give you a hint. Now, you know that they probably made that decision based on focus groups, or what they thought was the average amount of time, or an appropriate amount of time, before you got too stuck and then they give you the hint. And knowing that, you know that when you hear that hint, that means that you have taken longer than they expected you to take. You have exceeded what they believe is the acceptable average amount of time. And that shit is infuriating. It's so bad. And it's stressful even, because in a game that has a lot of puzzles like this, because then these puzzles have failure conditions in your brain. So when you go into a room and you realize, oh, I'm in a puzzle, an invisible countdown starts in your brain. You start trying to get through the puzzle quickly, because you don't want to hear that voice. That voice is a failure condition. That voice means you're below average, which I'm pretty sure subverts these puzzles' intent. Because I think what they're supposed to be is moments of downtime between the combat segments. You're supposed to unwind, you're supposed to like slow down and relax and just do the puzzle. But because of the voice lines, a lot of people start trying to speed run the puzzles, they start trying to go through them quickly, and it creates this inevitable psychological stress for a lot of players. Let me tell you a little story. My friend was playing God of War Ragnarok, and I happened to be in the room at the time when he was playing it. This was before I got the game and you know, I hadn't played it at all yet. And he gets to a puzzle, and he starts trying to mess with the different, you know, parts of the puzzle, and then immediately he gets a solution from one of the NPCs. And I go and I look at his face, and he looks like dead. His ashen face, and he looks dead inside. And I start laughing. I just start laughing so much. And as he keeps trying to get through the puzzle, the more elements he interacts with, the more the NPCs just start talking about them. Every time, just giving him hints. It got to the point that he actually became angry. He got so angry that he just stood off and turned off the PlayStation 5. I was just laughing. I was laughing the whole time. That probably didn't help. It probably didn't help that I was just laughing at the situation. But no, the problem was the puzzle. He was offended. He was actually offended, personally wounded, that they thought that he had taken too long. Okay. So I've always thought this was bad design. I've thought this was terrible the first time I saw it. And worst of all, in this God of War, there's no way to turn them off. In fact, I don't even think you can slow them down. I think that there's a setting to extend puzzles, but I don't think that has any effect on the chatter. I don't think it has any effect on the characters talking and giving you hints. I think those happen regardless at the same amount of time. You can't mess with them. But anyway, the point I'm making is that this has always been common. This is a very normal thing that people do. I didn't play Horizon Forbidden West, but I believe it did the same thing. I've heard that Aloy talks to herself and gives herself the solution to the puzzles. So it's not unique. What is unique is the reaction in the internet to this situation. Because it seems like finally everybody's starting to agree with me. Everybody can see that this design is stupid. Tweets in social media, articles, YouTube videos, lots of people are talking about it. I even saw a video on Game Maker's Toolkit talking about it, and then to top, cherry on top, I saw a video by David Jaffe, the director for the first God of War, made a video talking about it, and in the video he's just like bewildered. He's just like, why? Why would they do this? Like what design, they must have had a reason. What's going through their heads? and I'll tell you what's going through their heads. They don't want anyone getting stuck on these puzzles. They know that these puzzles aren't the appeal of the game. They know the puzzles are just there to give you a different tone between different action segments, between different story segments. And they don't want even 1% of people to get stuck on it. You know, 1% is a lot. Like 1% is a big amount of people. And so they want to do whatever they can to make sure that your time spent in each puzzle is within acceptable tolerances in order to try and get you to like the game more, speeding you along to the more interesting sections of the game. In the Game Maker's Toolkit video that talks about this, he makes the point that these AAA games are very expensive, and so the developers don't feel like they can afford to put stuff in the game that you won't find or you won't get or you won't understand. And he extrapolates from the puzzle's other elements, like the HUD, the UI, the waypoints and map markers and stuff like that. And I think he's probably right. But personally, I can't stand video games like that. I can't stand that design philosophy. Like, I'm not expecting every game to be like Elden Ring out there. I'm not expecting them to make a whole section of the game obscure and missable, kind of like Volcano Manor. But I think at the very least, these puzzle hint things, they gotta go. They gotta go. It's bad design, and it always was. So I think this whole mini controversy is actually a good thing, because now that God of War, which is a good game, has brought so much attention to it, I am 100% positive that this is going to be a talking point for years. Whenever a game tries to do this again, it will be the object of criticism. Putting hints in puzzles is going to be far reduced, and any game that has it will probably start trying to implement an option to turn it off, or extend the amount of time before they give you hints. Anyway, that's the end of this video. As always, thank you very much for watching.